Hi, everybody. Just wanted to do a short video, nothing to do with Delphi directly today, but more a mental health and compassion based message, which I think is still relevant to the Delphi community because, as most of you know, there is a lot of disharmony in this arena. I mean, I think there's a lot of disharmony throughout social media, particularly, I think, in the true crime area, particularly in a case like Delphi. And I think we all see the real harm that it's caused a lot of people emotionally. And I know a lot of you will have noticed some of my posts over time where I have expressed the emotional toll that being a part of this community has taken on me. And I know that I am certainly not the most victimized person in this community, and clearly not the most victimized person when it comes to the Delphi case. I know that what I experience is a drop in the ocean compared to the cruelty some people have experienced online, and of course, the horrific nature of the crime and the injustice towards the girls and towards Rick Allen, who I do still believe is an innocent man. And I get that, but all feelings are valid. And I think I really want to encourage everybody to feel comfortable expressing their vulnerabilities and not to feel like expressing vulnerabilities, setting boundaries, and speaking up when you feel hurt and targeted, and feel comfortable doing that. None of that is wrong. None of that is playing victim. As many of you know, my career has been as a mental health professional. And when I first thought about going onto YouTube, other than my cancer chemo related videos, I had intended to and continue to intend to focus more on content for individuals, parents, families, the community in regards to mental health issues and wellness emotionally, and kind of similar to what I have spoken about before in my Delphi videos, trying to provide info in a digestible form, I suppose, like little gems or nuggets of information, just making things that are lengthy and complex feel more easy to access, because I know that's what my brain needs. I find it incredibly hard to go through pages and pages of documents, and even if I'm interested in them. And so one of the things that I am proud of is my ability to drill into things, hyper focus, and then, want to get to the bottom of it and then be able to explain that process to others who want to do the same. Sorry, still got a bit of a croaky throat. But I don't do that because I think I'm the only one who can do that. I do it because if I like something and care about something and I'm focused on something, I will do it. And then why not share the fruits of my labor? I mean, I feel like that's what we all do as a community. We find things that we're willing to do and sometimes that we're good at doing, and we share those. And I've seen so much of that in this Delphi community. And I really do think I'm somebody who has consistently shown that I am able to recognize and credit people for the work they do, and collaborate. But I'm just going on tangents here. This is not a prepared video. This was just my thoughts, and I felt as I've been on the Delphi social media in this community over the months, I consistently saw this parallel theme coming up in regards to the online community. And when I mean parallel theme, I mean parallel in some ways to what's happened to Rick Allen. and also what happened to the girls, that vulnerable people are targeted and treated inhumanely. And again, I'm not trying to parallel some mocking and harassment online to grievous crimes and the injustice that's occurred in this case, but I'm just saying that on a lesser level, on a ripple level, similar things happen, and it's the same pattern. It's a pattern of sensitive, vulnerable people. And I don't say sensitive and vulnerable as a negative thing. I don't see it as a weakness. I just think, though, the analogy that I always use is that highly sensitive people, we are people whose nervous system is more exposed, if that makes sense. So I kind of say to my clients all the time, and this is how I kind of see myself, that it's like you've got this cold climate and the highly sensitive person is outside wearing, I don't know, a vest and shorts. And the rest of the population, the neurotypical people, or the people who may be still neurodivergent but less sensitive, I suppose, although I do think that this applies mostly, or not mostly, or heavily to a lot of us neurodivergent people, because I think neurodivergence essentially is a different way of our nervous system and brain kind of processing and reacting in the world. Anyway, I digress. I think that highly sensitive people, we are wearing shorts and a t-shirt in cold weather, and the less sensitive people are wearing a jacket and pants, and we're saying it's so cold out here, and they're like, no, it isn't. You're being over dramatic. I feel like a lot of people who are highly sensitive, like myself, we experience the world as massive intensity. And so the very things I know that probably put people off about me, and I don't mean everybody, because I know these are the very things that other people would love about me, but what would put, I suppose, certain types of people off, maybe people who are not as intense and sensitive, is that I am intense. I'm excitable, I'm passionate, I'm reactive, and I try to be reactive in a way that is measured and effective. And I think that I am doing that pretty well. Like, sometimes I know that I probably don't need to argue a point as much, but I know that when I do it respectfully. And I'm proud of the fact that I'm able to do that. But yeah, I feel a lot, and I can't just walk away from things when things feel unfair, whether it be towards me, towards Rick Allen, towards the girls, towards anybody. Like, I just am not a person who finds it easy to step away from injustice. And that includes injustice to myself. The other thing about a lot of us highly sensitive people is that we tend to be what I term internalizers, and I don't term that it's not my term, but it's a term that's used, sometimes it's used in psychology in a slightly different way. But I read this amazing book that's about it's about emotionally immature parents. I really should link the author here, because she's written a series of books and they are amazing. I will definitely put a pinned post in the comments when I've looked it up. But she talked about internalizers and externalizers, and internalizers in her form, and I hope that I'm not I hope I'm doing her book justice, but people who tend to be more inclined to blame themselves or look inwardly for answers for what's going on in their life. And externalizers are more inclined to blame other people or the world, external factors. So we also call this like locus of control, like where does the control lie? And so a lot of highly sensitive people, we have this tendency to consistently turn inwards. And this is why so many of us have anxiety and depression and low self-esteem, shame, guilt. We turn ourselves inside out. And sometimes we can be a bit of a yo-yo. And I know that I am. I kind of go from like, I'm the problem, I'm so bad, to they're the problem, they're so bad, to I'm the problem, I'm so bad. And I feel like for me, often when I'm blaming somebody else, it comes from a place of me just trying to protect myself. It's a defense mechanism, right? And I think that's a lot of us. And so what I was referring to on my post in the community yesterday was that I'm far more inclined to worry about who I am as a person. And I might, notice somebody else's bad behavior and call it out, but it hurts me. And I end up feeling shame, because shame is ultimately the emotion related to feeling like there's something wrong with you. And I have felt that throughout my life. And it's not because I've experienced any significant trauma or abuse. I mean, I've certainly had traumas in my life, but I came from, a good, happy family, and I've lived a very privileged life. And I am always very willing to, say that I am very privileged. And so why do I feel such deep shame? Well, it's because I soak in everything. So when people are harsh or mean, or even if it's just like a subtle criticism, I just feel so hurt by it. And that is not, to me, playing victim or being over dramatic. That is an indicator of my nervous system that just doesn't have the same level of shielding as other people's does. And whilst that can certainly be hard to manage for myself and probably the people around me who have to hear me, vent about things that are upsetting me or deal with the intensity of my emotions, it's also my biggest strength, because it's the very reason that I can connect to other people who are in pain and who are wounded. And I always feel in this world, and I feel like I'm going to cry saying this, but my people have almost always been vulnerable people, children, people in therapy who are anxious and depressed. I work a lot with people on the spectrum, people with trauma histories, animals, because animals are vulnerable, the elderly, younger people like children. Like I don't struggle a lot to connect with people who are in pain and who are vulnerable. And the people who usually find me hard to palate are people who tend to have more walls up, more layers that cover their nervous system. And I'm not saying one type of reaction is good or bad, but they are fundamentally different. And I think all different types of people are needed in this world, for sure, of course. And I mean, we call this a double empathy problem. It's something that they talk about more in the autism kind of community, but I think it applies to any type of neurodivergence realistically, because it's the idea that people are better at understanding people who are similar to them, essentially. So in the autism community, it's certainly been the case that people have made stereotypes about autistic people and their expression of emotion and social capacity. And, it's almost always seen as a deficit rather than a difference. And so the double empathy problem explains that it is exactly that, a difference, not a deficit. And I think that's what happens for all of us humans. And I think that what I've experienced online has been classic of that. And I say the double empathy problem because it goes both ways. Like, it's not just saying people don't understand me, it's saying I don't understand people. Like, I understand intellectually why people can be cruel and nasty. I mean, gosh, no one's immune from doing that. I mean, I've certainly had narcissistic defense mechanisms or aggressive defense mechanisms at times. And when I say aggressive, it's like maybe being a bit mean and bit bitchy, but nothing significant. And when I say narcissistic defense mechanism, I don't mean a personality disorder. I just mean, somebody puts us down. Sometimes we want to show that we are better in some way. And we all do. Maybe we don't all do it, but I think a lot of us do this. These are really normal experiences. These are what Jung would call shadow parts. We all have a shadow, and I'm very aware of my shadow. I'm very aware of the things that are not palatable, that are things that people would say you should disown. But as Jung would also say, we need to embrace our shadow. That's actually the path to improving our well-being, improving our society as well. Anyway, we're getting really philosophical here. I know that so many people who watch my videos or listen to them usually, she's probably not got much to watch because I never show my face, and that's another issue. I know a lot of you are highly sensitive people. I know a lot of you are highly compassionate people, and I so appreciate that. I see it every day in the comments, in the people who engage in the chats with me. I can just see so many beautiful souls, and you all know who you are. And so I thought this message was still valuable. I think that even though it's a bit garbled because I'm in my car, I have to go to the gym and it's 10 o'clock, I hope that it resonates for people. I guess the other thing that I was going to say about why I don't often show my face, and I have alluded to this a lot of times, but I think it warrants saying because I think sometimes people think if you hide behind, an avatar, are you trying to hide who you are? And I'm not. I mean, you've all seen me at times. But again, I'm probably going to cry. But breast cancer completely ravaged my body. And I try to have body acceptance. I try to work on all of the things, I try to practice what I preach. And I am doing the work. I'm just, contrary to popular belief, having these big emotions and these reactions is not an indicator that we're not working on our mental health. They're an indicator of vulnerability, sensitivity, and all the things I've just discussed. But going back to my appearance, I mean, I was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 39, and being of Indian heritage, I had pretty youthful skin and shiny black hair, and I was blessed with, a good metabolism. And I felt, I mean, I never felt great about myself. Don't get me wrong. I had the same old body image and self-esteem issues that everybody has, but I did feel generally attractive, and breast cancer stole a lot of that from me. And I feel like breast cancer also gave me a lot, like the experience of it. And I feel really offended by it too. But I lost my long dark hair, my thick dark hair, and it wasn't temporary because unfortunately I'm on really heavy duty medications that meant my hair grew back from chemo about, gosh, I'd say like 30-40% density in certain areas, particularly the crown and the top area. And so I've been living with like being bald and then, growing back this hair and it being just, growing back hair from bald is not easy at the best of times because it grows in stages and it's awkward. But I'm now, a few years post chemo and I'm still struggling to get the density back, and it is happening. So anyone who's listening who is one of my chemo people, like, please don't think that you're doomed to feel terrible forever. But I definitely have my days, and I'm hoping that in the next couple of months I will finally have hair long enough to properly tie up and to, have some bounce and waves in it, and hopefully even a bob. But my hair was a big part of my identity.
And I don't find it easy to look the way I want to look. My eyebrows are thinner and sparser. Like, I used to be able to get up in the morning and not have to do too much to look presentable. I mean, not wonderful necessarily, but presentable. Whereas now, like, my hair sticks up at right angles, my eyebrows can look so thin and non-existent. And it sounds so shallow saying all of this, but I'm willing to just be honest. I look in the mirror and I see a different person. And I mean, that's only the half of it. You know, I lost half a kilo of um, breast tissue. Like, it's a lot. I have a lot of scars. And again, they fade and they're not terribly noticeable in general, but I know, and yeah, lots of aspects as well. And I don't want to have a doom and gloom video about breast cancer because I want people who are going through it to know that there is hope, and there is. There is so much hope. My life has definitely changed for the better as well. But there are aspects that are hard to deal with. So anyway, that was a long story. It sounds like a sob story, guys. Oh, and I know, again, I've just said being vulnerable and sharing emotions. I encourage people to do that. I don't think that this is playing victim or having a sob story. I think it's sharing wounds. And I think that by sharing wounds, it allows other people to feel okay to share their own, because so many of us are haunted by the ghosts of our past wounds. And when we talk about them, when we collectively, I guess, come together, that means the same thing, right? Collectively, I guess that if we have a community that discusses these things, we'll feel less alone. And coming back to Delphi, there have been a few people in the community who have reached out to me and shared the difficult experiences they've had and how it's affected them emotionally. And it's so harrowing because I can't, I couldn't have imagined that people, like that adults, would be so mistreated by each other in an online community that we would have people on the edge, really struggling to make it through their day. And that is not people being dramatic. We've seen this in kids and teens for years and years and years. There isn't a lot of research on the impacts of online bullying on adults, but that isn't because it doesn't exist. It does. It's just people don't talk about it and it hasn't been researched. There's not as much funding, perhaps, but it's very real. And the fact that I have spoken to many people who have been bullied, harassed, hurt, and suffered really, really significant emotional decline due to this community tells us something. Now, as I say this, I stand up for myself, and even then, I reflect and I don't want people to feel bad about themselves. But I do want people to reflect if they're hurting me. And sometimes I think I should just let it go because hurt people. And if people are bullying me or mocking me, then they're probably dealing with their own stuff. And I should have enough empathy to just step back and let it be. But I guess, yeah, there's a part of me that's just wants to defend me because so much of my life I've internalized so much negativity that it just feels like it's okay to sometimes set a boundary and tell people to stop. But as a result of that, my emotional well-being has certainly taken a hit. And so I am disengaging from people who want to troll or be unnecessarily cruel and dismissive. As anyone in this community knows, that if you disagree with me and have valid criticism, I am happy to engage in good faith. but I think I need to step back from any platforms, i.e. X, and people who are going to relentlessly continue to smear me and other people. I don't think it's a good thing to be around. My YouTube community is not like that, and I have loved being part of this community, and I will continue to be. I'm not going anywhere. I absolutely still care about justice for Abby and Libby and for Rick Allen, and I really love the community that we've created here. I'm so appreciative of the people who have engaged so warmly and compassionately with me, and the brilliant minds that have come forward and, discussed things with me and given me suggestions. I love it, and I always want Daisy Asks to be a community, not Amy, but Daisy Asks. Daisy's a dog. She's not me. I'm not Daisy. And Daisy was a team player. She's a dog, right? Dogs are pack animals. Let's not be a pack of wolves, but let's be a pack of puppy dogs who, you know, have fun together, but also, you know, work together. And I mean, I say have to have fun, and I don't mean have fun at the expense of true crime, but I mean collaborate, work together, and be kind to each other. And I want everybody to know, and I said this in my post yesterday, my biggest strength as a human being is I don't turn away from vulnerability. I'm not scared by people's pain. And so, as much as I might be intense and share a lot about my own emotions, I really am here to support others with theirs too. And if you are struggling, if you need a friend, if you need somebody to walk beside you in your vulnerability, then I will do that. No questions asked. And that goes for the people who've hurt me too. Because honestly, I don't want to hate people. I don't take any pleasure in seeing people truly hurting. I take pleasure sometimes in people getting their comeuppance, don't get me wrong, we've all got that side, but if people are truly hurting, if people are truly struggling in their life, I will always be here, and I want this community to have that as a core value, because I think that's all I ever intended to do when it came to Rick Allen, and the girls. It was to kind of metaphorically walk beside them and hold their hands through this. And it's not about trying to be a leader. It's about trying to be a community, a collective. And that's what Daisy Asks is. And so every single one of your voices out there are important. Don't make Daisy Ask just be me talking all the time. People are sick of hearing my voice. I'd love all of you to join me and to have discussions and to, as you already do, engage with the live chats. But yeah, join me up here. Let's talk. Let's chat. I will probably not be able to censor some of the things that people have criticized me for. For example, saying guys, can't help it. It's just, maybe it's an Australianism, maybe it's just an Amiism, but I can't help saying it. I've tried to censor myself after I saw one of those comments that not people, but somebody said that it's so annoying. But then I'm being fake. I'm not being me. And I talk too loudly. Gosh, I was listening to the panel. I'm about to put the second panel video up of the psychs, and the other two were so softly spoken. And I am a foghorn, and I know it, and I need to try to sometimes tone it down. But I'm excitable, and It's like I don't have a volume button. My kids are like me too. Can you imagine what our house is like? But I can't censor that stuff because then I'm going to lose my essence. And I'm not your typical psychologist. My clients know this. I talk like this as a therapist. I'm not the how are you going today kind of traditional idea of what psychology is, a stereotype. Of course, I modify my voice when I'm talking to someone who's, in the depths of despair, but, I'm the sort of person that's what you see is what you get. And I will try to adapt. I'm not saying I won't adapt. Of course, I'll adapt if there are things I'm doing or saying that are really offensive. But on the other hand, there are aspects of me that are probably not going to change, like the things I just mentioned. And so, yeah, if you find my voice annoying, if you don't like my energy, like I totally understand that. We all have our different preferences. It's like listening to different music. Like most people are not going to agree on everything. But if you don't, that's totally fine. But please, please, please try to be kind about it or just, or just don't follow me essentially. The main message of today is I want people to feel that expressing emotions, showing our vulnerabilities is not a bad thing. And it isn't playing victim, and it is not something you should have to hide and silence. Emotions are our nervous system's way of communicating, and our nervous system doesn't need to be silenced. Yes, we have to be effective in how we manage the emotions, but it's not effective to silence them. It's effective to share them in a safe space, to set boundaries, to access compassionate support, to show self compassion, and so much more. And if anyone's ever interested in more psychology related content, let me know. I will eventually start the channel that I had always intended to, which will be an accompaniment to the book that I'm supposed to be writing, but have sidetracked in favor of my Delphi obsession. But I'm really passionate about it. It's my forte. It takes a lot less researching than the Delphi case because I've been doing it for many, many years. But of course, there still is research and ongoing professional development. But yeah, I'm going on a million tangents. This is half an hour long anyway. If anyone stuck through this and listened, thank you. It's a little bit of a therapy session for me, but also hopefully in sharing my own vulnerabilities, other people will feel okay to open up about theirs, whether it be to me or to people they trust in their lives. I want to model that vulnerability is strength. It's not weakness. Much love and light to everybody. And I honestly meant what I said today. I extend a hand of compassion to anyone who needs it. If we've had beef in the past, if you think that I wouldn't like you because of that, please know that I am a puppy dog. I forgive very easily. I just set boundaries and step back if people are hurting me now because I don't want to keep being wounded. But the door is always a crack open. So with that, I will leave it there. Please look out for the second psych panel video. I will upload it as a premiere without Diana and I this time, just so that you get the kind of shortened version. But maybe Diana and I will make a plan at some point soon to discuss it together too, because it's great to get Diana's ideas and commentary on it too. And on the weekend, we will do an analysis of the Bridge Guy video, which is painfully frustrating because that 43 seconds that you feel should contain so much. It just really feels like it just gives you more questions than answers. But feel free to join us. I'm going to put the StreamYard link in the chat for that video. Watch out for the notification. I will try and put it up well in advance so you know when that's going to be. And come on StreamYard and have a chat with us, or us, me. It's just me. With anyone else who decides to join me, I know a few people have put their hand up and said they would be interested. And yeah, we'll just have an informal chat about it. I mean, there really are so many different perspectives that we could have on that video. So really keen to hear people's thoughts and just to kind of talk it out because gosh, like I said, it's frustrating and there are so many questions. So please feel free to join. Please feel free to comment and know that this is a supportive community. Good night, everybody.